What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Dylan. It's AC. We're here. It's been a minute since we've been doing a live stream. I think since Super Bowl 52 is the last time we actually did a stream. So it's been 3 weeks. We wanted to get the fans back into it because the lack of streams has been persistent. But we're here. We're going to get the fans, we're going to get you guys involved today. We're going to talk about some of the big themes in the NFL going on right now. Last week we had the big Marcus Peters trade going to the Rams. We got a lot of topics to discuss about Jordan Howard and his guarantee, Jarvis Landry, and whether or not his future with the Dolphins is going to be safe. A lot of things to talk about, some good interest. The debate show that we had last week will still be on. We had a little bit of a scheduling thing. Mitch is feeling bad. Anthony can't be there, so we'll be there next week. Call last week's episode the pilot, which it is. And we'll fix on stuff on that next week. But I'm here with AC. AC, how you doing?
I'm good, man. It seems like forever ago it was the Super Bowl. It seems like a lot longer than 3 weeks, but I haven't really talked about it since I've kind of cooled off the football and just letting it percolate. And with the parade and everything, it's still surreal that the Eagles are Super Bowl champs. But it's great now that you kind of got that first one off your chest, and now it's what can the Eagles to do to keep it going. Plus, at this time of the year, obviously free agency is coming up just in a little less than 2 weeks. The combine, it's really the heart of the offseason because we know after the draft, everything cools off for a good 2 months before training camp. So things have started to heat up a bit with free agents. Some guys saying they're going to sign with it. We've seen trades, and there's a lot of big free agents still to sign in the next couple weeks here.
Yeah, the first couple weeks after the Super Bowl are a little bit difficult to get through, but we're getting towards that stretch that we're going to find really interesting the next 2 months. So I'm interested to see where we go here. The draft, like you said, is coming up. We're going to release a lot of draft videos. The first one from me is going to be out tomorrow. I'm going to rank my top 5 quarterbacks in this draft with an honorable mention. And I'll be doing offensive players every week, and Mitch will be doing defensive players every week, so you guys can check that out. I know AC is going to have some kind of mock draft coming up soon, so
sure.
A lot of good stuff coming there. But today we got a couple of topics that are relevant to right now. We want to get the off-season chat going, so I'll bring up the topics. You guys in the comment section bring up your thoughts on it, and after the end of each little discussion, we'll go to the comments and see how you guys feel. So first topic that we have here today, so we're going to talk about this big Marcus Peters trade. That was the headline here. I know it was a little bit of shocker to some people, but apparently this has been a trade that the Chiefs wanted for about 2 months, according to Ian Rappaport. So Kansas City decided to trade Marcus Peters to the Los Angeles Rams. We heard news today exactly what they got out of it. It's a 2018 6th-round pick, a 4th-round pick, and a 2019 2nd-round pick. Is what the Chiefs are getting out of this. So, AC, what was your first opinions on this? Was it like this is a weird trade? What are the Chiefs getting out of it? What are we thinking?
No, I think the Chiefs, obviously, they're trying to change up the culture. And I know Peters was an unbelievable player for them since he's come in the league. He leads the NFL in interceptions since that time with 19. Second place is only at like 14. So we know he's an unbelievable player. But we also know he takes chances because we also, with the good of an aggressive player like that, which you want because you can make those game-changing interceptions, we know that he can be almost too aggressive. That can hurt him. And obviously, I think his aggressiveness helps him with his interception numbers. But I don't think that's the total picture of Peters. But I thought it was going to be a lot more, a 2nd and a 4th. I think it's decent when it comes to the Chiefs. But obviously, the Rams, who are trying to be one of those top teams in the NFC, you look at that and, you get a number 1 corner. I do like Trumaine Johnson. I think he's underrated, but now I don't think they have enough money to keep him. If they do, then that's an unbelievable 1-2 punch. Because I think they're going to franchise tag Joyner and not Watkins now. So Joyner is going to still be there. Who's a very good safety. I wouldn't say he's an elite safety, but he's a very good safety. Peters is an elite corner. I thought Trumaine Johnson was a tier just below Peters, but still very good. So at the end of the day, I think it's how the Chiefs draft, which they have been lucky their last 2 drafts in the later rounds, not in the second round, but Kareem Hunt, obviously a 3rd-round pick, and then the year before, Tyreek Hill, a 5th-round pick. But if you look at their last draft, their last 2 drafts, they only have 3 players that are really playing for that team. You know, Chris Jones, who was a 2nd-round pick, who's their defensive tackle. Mahomes obviously is going to be their Kareem Hunt. But then when you look at the rest, they haven't really drafted great in those 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So for maybe you're getting away cap and maybe you're trying to change culture. But for right now, Rams win the trade unless in 3 years' time we figure out that the 2nd-round pick and the 4th-round pick are Pro Bowl or players that are day in, day out at any position. Then you can kind of be like, okay, well, Chiefs got something. But right now, it's easy to say that the Rams are getting a Pro Bowl caliber corner who they're going to have to pay. You know what I mean? Like, that's the big thing that I think people don't realize is, yes, it's great for the Rams this year because he's cheap, but next year you're going to have to pay him a lot of money. And it's good for every team because the cap seems to be going up about $20 million a year.
Yeah, the cap has been good, increasing for years, and that's going to help the Rams quite a bit. I was kind of surprised by this trade, honestly. I think it was just kind of out of nowhere. Obviously, they can't sign these guys for another couple weeks because free agency is in the middle of March, but this is agreed upon. I think the Chiefs are losing a little bit. I don't think they got what I thought they were going to gain out of it, like a 2nd and 4th-round pick. That just doesn't seem like the sexiest of thing, especially with a guy like Peters. Well, like you said, they're trying to change the culture a little bit. They obviously shipped out Alex Smith. Now they're going to go with Mahomes as their QB. So I guess they're looking towards the future. Possibly they want to see how players are going to develop. They want to get some good draft picks. And then that's the key. That's hitting the draft, because some teams last year, they hit the draft, but they didn't really do anything else with it. But it's a long-term process. So with the Chiefs, who we've seen countless times again get to the playoffs, but not doing anything in said playoffs, it's going to be crucial for these picks to hit. So, like you said, right now, Marcus Peters, I think it's a great addition for the Rams. Like you said, Jermaine Johnson's probably going to leave with all that money that's going to be going to Peters. But I like the trade. Rams, obviously, they were the number 1 scoring offense last season, but we didn't talk a lot about the defense other than Aaron Donald. I think getting another good piece like that, they'll have to put the money in. But if they want to be one of the top teams in the NFC, they're going to have to do something like that. They're going to have to put a little bit of investment in this. So good play, good call from them. I got no problems with them. And like you said, I think the Rams win this trade.
And just quickly with Trumaine, obviously they have enough money to sign Trumaine, but obviously it would be a big contract. And then you got to think about it. A year later, you have to pay Peters more than what Trumaine's asking for. So we've seen an open market. I don't think maybe he had the season like Bouye did when he got the big money. I think his is around $14 million a year for like 5 years for the Jags.
Right.
So Trumaine will get close to that. He'll be at least 10 to, I'll say, let's just say even 8 to 14, somewhere in that range. There's going to be a team to go out and try to get him. So I just don't think they could do that for long term, because obviously Gurley's coming up from his rookie contract. You know what I mean? Goff is another 2 years away. So there's some big money you're going to have to throw around at some players. And they got to start thinking about that.
Yeah, this might be like a 2-year contract. It can't be much more than that. I mean, like you said, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to get paid. The rookie contract, that's obviously a big thing. If Jared Goff goes to that next level this next season, that's another concerning factor. I mean, obviously they want that, but that's a little concerning on their money. So I'm interested to see the Rams do what they do, because they were one of the better teams in the NFC. They didn't really produce in the playoffs, but for the future, they gotta have something. So hopefully their money in their pockets, they're ready to spend it. In the comments for this one, Killen Boy says the Rams won it totally. He says, I know the Rams will be in debt with the secondary, with Jermaine Johnson and LaMarcus Joyner, but he's going to leave. But if they can keep one of those guys, there will be competition in the NFC. That's true. I think they'll keep, like we said, we'll keep Joyner. Ultra says Rams win this one, especially since Jermaine Johnson's leaving. And Michael Sachs, Rams win the trade. So a lot of people on this Rams one. Obviously, like you said, it's going to take a couple years before we even see what the 2nd and 4th round picks are. So easy to say right now, unless they get some kind of steal, which they've been known to do. But
Well, and I think offensively too, if you look at the Rams, and you could say the same thing about the Eagles going into next season, but the thing with the Eagles, they obviously went all the way and won the Super Bowl, but there's still going to be questions. Can that offense continue to click like that? And I think the storyline with the Rams, can that offense continue to click like they did? There's software slumps with players, but there's also software slumps with teams. We've seen in the past teams to have a good offensive outburst, and in the next season, maybe other teams clue in. But I do think that what the Rams have going for them, Seattle could be back, but they're kind of on the decline. Cardinals are very on the decline, and San Francisco's on the upswing. But still, I think with this trade and still with the Rams are the clear-cut favorites in the NFC West. But I still need to see what they can do. Can Goff have a good season? Can Gurley keep on producing like he did? Like, in my opinion, he was a couple games short of being the MVP of the league. Obviously, it went to Tom Brady, but I think you easily could have made an argument for Todd Gurley, what he did for that offense. And if he continued to do that, they'd definitely be one of the top teams in the NFC, if not the NFL.
Yeah, it was quite a dramatic change from the year before to this past season. Todd Gurley, the year before 2017, had a really bad season. It was the sophomore slump. Then came in and balled out last year. So it'll be interesting. Like you said, it's all about the NFL it's very hard to be consistent. So we'll see how that goes. Second topic that we have here today. I didn't even know about this until today, but Mitch brought this up. Jordan Howard went on call and says that the Bears will make the playoffs. They will make the playoffs in 2018-2019 season. It's a guarantee. The quote was, "The Bears are definitely going to have a winning season. We're going to get to the playoffs, so I guarantee you we'll get to the playoffs." This is obviously from a player that plays on the Bears organization, so they're going to be excited. They're going to be wanting to have this happen, and it's such a far guarantee. Like, we're in February. None of this, no draft, no combine, no free agency has gone down at all, so a player like this, they're just getting hyped up for the season. I wouldn't take too much stock into this, but there is a question to be asked here. Will the Bears make the playoffs in 2018? How are you feeling about that as of right now, Casey?
Well, as of right now, I don't think so, but he's a player, and I don't really hate on players saying this. I know like people like to be like, you guaranteed it, but I think that's more in the playoffs, so the opposing fans can be like, oh, your guy guaranteed it. You're not about the team. Like, you're thinking too far ahead. But I think when you're a team like the Bears, and right now in February, you're saying, I guarantee we're going to make the playoffs. We'll have to see if he double down on it, moving forward. Exactly. In September, if he keeps on saying that training camp, he's like, yeah, we're making the playoffs. But if you look at the Bears, like, Detroit's going to be there. I still have question marks for Detroit. I know they have a great quarterback and Patricia, but I know, talking to some Lions fans, a lot of Lions fans are somewhat, they were stoked. And I think if the Patriots defense put on a better performance, they'd be a little better about it. But talking to some Lions fans, I think there's a little hint of, Patricia obviously is a great coach, but the way his last game ended, in one of the worst defensive performances Super Bowl history, and you're the guy that's the coach of that, it hurts them a bit from what I'm hearing from some of the Lions fans. But still, the Lions should be a better team than the Bears. Then you look at Green Bay, healthy Aaron Rodgers, their defense is somewhat shaky. And then the Vikings, who, we'll get into it, if they get Kirk Cousins. Even if they don't get Kirk Cousins, they're still a better team. I think if they can somehow get a receiver for Trubisky, because I do think Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen are a great 1-2. I think they need to get some offensive weapons, and that defense is young, and we saw them, create some turnovers at times last year. So it's interesting, but at the end of the day, I just chalk it up to a young guy who's, a future Pro Bowler, has been very good since his rookie year, just being confident, right? Like, no one, if Jeffrey was on the Bears and Jeffrey last season said, we're going to win the Super Bowl last year, no one would have cared if they didn't. You know what I mean? It's not the end of the world. I think we're past the time of people really taking people's guarantees for,
this isn't like name of
verbatim word
shit, right? Like, there's there's not that much stock into it at this point.
Exactly.
I like the confidence. In terms of what I feel about the Bears, I think the NFC North is going to be the hardest division next year. You got Aaron Rodgers coming back, like you said. I'm not the biggest fan of the whole team dynamic, but they're still obviously as good as they want to be with Aaron Rodgers. They'll probably have a great chance to make the playoffs. Minnesota went to the NFC Championship game last year. Whether that'll hold up or not, you don't know, but they made themselves a lot better. Detroit, they've got some upside. Patricia as a head coach, we'll see. I can understand the fans being a little bit riled or rattled, I should say, after the performance of the Patriots in Super Bowl 52, but I think it'll at least be an improvement, and they're always a hovering team around the playoffs. So for Chicago, we talked about it a lot this season. They need help on receivers. I mean, the guys that they do have, they got hurt this season. They don't have a lot of talent to begin with. They might. I mean, I was hoping that they were going to get somebody in free agency. There's still a chance, but the talks have not looked all that well. A guy like Jarvis Landry, who we will talk about in a minute, might be a guy of interest. A guy like Christian Kirk in the draft could be something to look for them. We'll see. I'm interested about it. I'm not going to guarantee anything. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I got no problem with him actually making the proposition. In terms of the comments, Rick Badboy says they need receivers bad. Yeah, I think that's one of the things. I mean, we were talking about this team as a young, up-and-coming team that has potential. It's just they need to click it. They obviously got rid of their head coach, John Fox. That was a big key. Nagy, the head coach or the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, is coming in, which I think will help Trubisky a lot. I think that will help out some of the things I don't like about him. But they're definitely going to have to fix some things for the future to get past what's the word, mediocrity, because they were 5-11 last year. They weren't the greatest looking team out there.
What I'll say with Chicago in the draft is they have to be careful because we've seen like first round receivers aren't hitting anymore. Like maybe let's just take a look at last year. Corey Davis, Mike Williams, John Ross. Were any of those guys in the discussion? Even Curtis Samuel, an early second. A late second, Juju is like the second, third last year. We saw better rookie receivers.
I think they should trade backwards. I think they should trade back and get some, get somebody,
or get some defensive help in that first round. But like a lot of people were saying Ridley, which I'm not too high on Ridley. You know what I mean? Because if you just look at his tape was not as good as Mike Williams or Corey Davis.
Well, it wasn't as good as it was the year before too. Like his
true. But I'm saying, like, look at what you can get in the Juju Smith-Schuster, even Zay Jones, Cooper Kupp, those were third rounds. Tywin Taylor, he was even decent. You know what I mean? Like, Golladay was a third round. Even if you go back to the first round, Corey Coleman, Will Ferrell, Jock Dodson, Laquan Treadwell the year before. You're not getting these good receivers anymore in the first round. I think it's a lot of hype. And I think you got to wait and you got to pick your battles because, look, what? Out of Laquel Treadwell, Josh Jackson, Will Fuller, Corey Coleman, and then Corey Davis, Mike Williams, John Ross. What, like Will Fuller?
Will Fuller's probably in the
Josh Doxson kind of played well, but still, like these are first round wide receivers where you're used to hitting on these guys. I don't think you're hitting on first round wide receivers as much as you used to because I think there's so many of them. If you're at the cream of the crop, I don't know how much better you are than those other guys, especially in the NFL. It's what we've been seeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of those come down to injuries. I know Doxson and Williams in particular were injured their first season. But, it's hard to land a great receiver in the first round. Take it from Cowboys experience. It's been quite a bit. And we're looking at receivers right now. I know that for a fact. So if we get something in the second round, we'll see. But, yeah, no guarantees. They do need quite a bit of help. Kevin White can't stay healthy for shit. Zach Miller, they're a great tight end. I don't know what his leg situation is. I know that's a tight end, but still, we'll see how it goes. But Bears, I'm okay with him making the proposition, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. All right, third topic here. We're gonna talk about our favorite quarterback, or the one that gets the most buzz here, Blake Bortles. He just got a contract extension from the Jacksonville Jaguars. 3 years, $54 million. That's about an average of $18 million a year. I think he's getting $20 million the first season, and then it goes a little bit down afterwards. I had suspicion to believe that this was going to happen based on Bortles making it to the AFC Championship game. He won the first 2 games against Buffalo and Pittsburgh. Good things. I think he, in terms of my opinion on this, I was kind of shocked that the Jaguars didn't at least think about going to sign somebody. Maybe in the back of their minds they didn't, but they never got released to anybody. Maybe the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes, they were thinking about it, but I don't know. Blake Bortles is apparently their guy. They want to keep him. He's the pet project because he was drafted in the first round of 2013. I think he was the first. Yeah, he was the first quarterback taken in that draft. So they want to put a lot of stock into him. His numbers did improve this season. He did make a couple of really good throws throughout the year. Had a couple of really good games. Some inconsistency, but he held his own against some of the best teams. Played a good game against the Patriots all the way to the fourth quarter, and then kind of fell down there. I think in this scenario for me, I think it's because of the confidence of this season. They didn't lose because of Blake Bortles, right? They lost as a collective team effort. If he had thrown 20 touchdowns and 22 interceptions, he would have been gone. It would have been something like that. I think the numbers dictate that he did just enough to keep his job, and it's not a long-term contract. It's a 3-year contract which is shorter than his rookie contract. So I think they're just giving him a second opportunity. Like, hey, we know how good this team is. You did enough to get us to the AFC Championship game and almost to the Super Bowl. We want to have it in your hands. I don't think it's the best choice, but I'm not like as negative as Mitch is. It just depends on, hey, now you got this chip on your shoulder. We gave you this money. We gave you a couple more years of extension to get this done. We need you to back up on what you're saying, what you're giving to us. So that's how I feel. It's the chip on the shoulder that goes to Blake Bortles, who some of us may not find the greatest quarterback, but he's going to have to prove himself. AC, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I don't mind it. Like we said, with the cap going up, they obviously did it because, if they wanted to sign a free agent quarterback to be their quarterback right away, it would have cost a lot more than that, right? And it's technically gives them space because it's only guaranteed for the first year and a half. So if they do want to release him 2 years down the road, he won't count against the cap, right? So the bonus was only 28 mil of that 54 mil. So that means 2 years is guaranteed that they have to pay him. But after that third year, it's the team's choice that they can get rid of him. I do agree with you that he didn't really hurt them. And I do think he got better at certain points. I think they got out-coached in the second half of that game. I don't think it was his fault. And obviously you could say, a lot of people could say they were that one deflection, if, Gilmore doesn't make that unbelievable play, or he throws it just a bit more ahead of his receiver, they're playing in the Super Bowl. I could see them drafting a QB in the early rounds, not early rounds 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, getting maybe a top 8 quarterback, not the big 5 that everyone talks about, but maybe like a Mason Rudolph from Oklahoma State, or Falk from Washington, someone that's probably would go in the late second, early third. And because I just don't think Chad Henne's the guy that you want, right? You need someone to push Bortles, and I don't think Chad Henne's doing that. Obviously,
it's kind of like the Mahomes. I know Mahomes is a first-round QB, but it was like the situation with the Chiefs last year.
For sure, yeah. So it is just that it's tough. But I do think they need to find someone, even if it's maybe paying a backup the $7-8 million, similar to what the Eagles do, because we've seen you need a good backup. Hopefully not go in with injury, but maybe push him a bit more behind the scenes, because I think maybe Bortles needs a change of scenery too with his backup, to either push him or maybe just to work with a bit more. Because, Chad Henne's been there since they had the bad jerseys, until they went to before the gold on the helmet.
I do like one quarterback you brought up, Mason Rudolph, who I will bring up in tomorrow's QB discussion. I think he's very underrated. He's a guy that could be taken in the second, third round, and it won't be high risk. So I do think that's a guy that they might want to look at. And yeah, I think I agree with you. I think they need to give him a little bit of pressure. Obviously, they're like giving him they're giving him half the key to the city. Like, hey, you have the chance to do it, but we can take it away as easily as we've given it to you. So,
and I think Coughlin too is a guy that he wants to give it time, right? I think obviously even before Eli won the Super Bowl, there were still Eli doubters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it took him 4 years to win the Super Bowl.
And obviously, if you think about it, when they won that Super Bowl, it was because of their defense. Yeah. And obviously, they had some nice pieces. Maybe I do think they need to upgrade the wide receiver position, which everyone does. Obviously, they had injuries last year. And, the year before, you look like you had 3 very good wide receivers. But he was throwing to no one. Plus, the tight end, like Mercedes Lewis.
The tight end is struggling.
Right?
Thomas, it was nothing. And
it was bad. So, they need to just get him some weapons. And I think they'll be able to do that in this year's draft or maybe in free agency. Because it's so interesting in free agency, the cap's going up 23 mil. So that's like 23 million extra dollars plus everyone who has extra money anyways, right? The Eagles aren't one of those teams. The Eagles would be in big trouble if the cap didn't go up $23 million.
Yeah. What do you think about, do you think the Jags re-sign Allen Robinson?
I don't know. I'm not the big, I know he plays well, but maybe you only sign Allen Robinson if you don't think you can get something that is equally as better or has more promise. You know what I mean? Maybe he's not as good as Allen Robinson if you get someone, but if you get someone that is just below Allen Robinson, but you think has more promise to be better than him, you do that. But if you can't, you got to bring him back, because then you'll just be left with nothing. You'll be left with Cole, which they're winning games with some of those no-name receivers last year. But
yeah, I think it depends on how much he's asking for. I don't honestly know what he's asking for, but I know a lot of teams are interested. Team like the Cowboys would be interested in him. It just kind of depends on how much he's asking. We don't know about the injury as well. ACLs have been more lightly talked about in the last 10 years because of surgery, and a lot of people can come back from it, but some people don't. So that's interesting to look up too. And plus, it's a receiver. You're always on your feet and moving around.
For sure.
Let's get to some comments here. We got a little bit more on this one. Killing Boys is confident about those Patriots going back to the Super Bowl. He's a Patriots fan.
I heard that last year. I'm sorry, but I heard that last year. They were supposed to go 16, 18-0 and win the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, but I feel like I am allowed to say that now. You know what I mean, Dylan? I'm allowed to say that. I heard that last year and it didn't happen. So who knows? Obviously, they're going to be a very good team, but
I think there's a lot more questions this year for the Patriots.
There's a lot more questions, but I'm not going to get into too much Patriots. But I'm just saying, as an Eagles fan, we played the best team in the world, the best quarterback of all time, played the best game of any quarterback in any Super Bowl, and we still beat them. So I feel like that is yeah. And I love how the story changed, but I'm just saying that a lot of this past year when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, the Patriots, everyone, remember we were talking, the Patriots are going to go 16-0 and win the Super Bowl and have the best team ever. And I've heard it before and it didn't happen. So I only can judge things on past experiences, and we'll see.
Well, I hope no one out there is riding them a 16-0 this year. I hope not, because I don't think
they make one signing and people will. But I guess maybe that was after they were looking good.
The Brandon Cook situation,
and they didn't lose in the Super Bowl, right? So
yeah, different story. We'll see about that. A lot of time to talk about Patriots stuff this year. Rick Bad Boy says, I like Sutton, and something about Ridley.
Wait. Just Kill Him says, hey, AC, don't. I think that was the least cocky thing I said. I think you're the one. I'm just trying to tell you, Kill Him, that. So you say, hey, AC, don't get too cocky. Now we going to win. So you're saying I'm cocky by being cocky. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah. Hey, I'm not saying we're going to win. I'm just thinking that I just hear this all the time with Patriots. I see all this time with the Patriots last year. It's like everyone's just like, we're going to go back. We're going to win it. We're going to win it. Well, you just said that last year and you didn't. So I only can go off that, which is fair.
It is fair. You gotta look at the production that has been given to us. We can only speculate so much. Can't
exactly.
Be like Patriots, all that stuff. So Rick Bad Boy says, I like Sutton, and something about Ridley makes me scared to draft him high. So basically agreeing with us earlier. And I like Ridley. I just don't know where you would want to draft him. I don't think drafting him in the first round is the safest bet, but a lot of people are having him ranked in the top 10. So
it's just tough, Dylan, because when you're the best receiver in your group and people are saying like this year it's not even a question between Williams or Davis. It's like Ridley, and I know Kirk's in there too, but still Ridley's kind of even above Kirk. That guy, a receiver always goes top 10 if he's the number one receiver. You know what I mean? Like if he's the best receiver in their draft class, receivers going top 15 at least, no matter what, especially that receiver.
Are we in this kind of stage where we were about 6 or 7 years ago where running backs were like, no first round kind of thing?
Exactly. But I still think we're at it. Like if you look at it, there's been 7 receivers taken in the first round in the last 2 drafts. So an average of 3, and those guys were supposed to be even better. Like people talking about Mike Williams and Davis last year, like obviously we're still early in the process, but the way they talked about those guys were way higher than they're talking about Ridley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think like if you can kind of judge it on that without even obviously watching his tape, but if you watched Mike Williams' tape and Corey Davis's tape, they looked unbelievable. You know what I mean? So it's tough.
Yeah, very difficult, but we'll see. It's always it's an interesting position, obviously, in the draft this time and stage. Rick Badboy says 3 years is safe for Bortles, but he would have personally done 2. They technically they did do 2, and they have the option to do 3, so not terrible. Sorry. We answered that. Okay, Sports Fanboy 930 says, can you see Revis finding a team this year? He was on the Chiefs for the last part of 2017. I think the guy should retire, honestly. Like, I think he's a nice, like, veteran presence, but I don't think he needs to be a starter. Maybe that's the word I should say. If he's going to find a team, he's going to have to be some kind of backup presence that can help with leadership. In terms of teams that I would like him to be on, maybe a team like the Giants. I know they got a really good defense going for them, and they don't need any cornerback help. A guy like Janoris Jenkins is obviously going to do that pretty well. Landon Collins, obviously they got a good secondary, but I think last year they were very shuffled, and they've got a new, obviously new head coach, Pat Shurmur. So I think they need a couple of veteran pieces. Eli's going to be the quarterback, at least to be for the offense. Maybe they need a guy like Revis. I don't know. That's a team to throw out there.
Yeah, I'm kind of more of the opinion that he's kind of done. He played well at times, but at the end too in the playoffs, he didn't look that great.
I just think it's a veteran thing. He doesn't need to start. He can be a backup for
sure. Yeah. But we don't even know. Like, is he a good locker room guy? You know what I mean? Like, I think we've heard so many stories that like with how, if it was the Hard Knocks thing with the Jets, like holding out. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he signed that Chiefs contract just for that, though. I mean, because
he seems to be more about Revis than the team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, yeah, the past presence has said that, but maybe if he wants to help the team, give him a chance. We'll see. The thing is, to answer that question the most fairly, we don't think he's going to be starting anywhere. He might be done, because I was kind of surprised when they signed, when the Chiefs signed him back in November. I'm like, really? Okay, kind of nowhere. But that Chiefs defense in the middle of the season was rough. Let's see. M Cam says the Pats have no defense. That is correct. Rick, by the way, they need to look everything. The Patriots do not need to draft an offensive player on the board. They need to draft everything defense. That's one of the few teams I'll say that for. Rick Badboy says, wonder if Bills will pull a trade for a QB in the draft. I'm guessing he's saying they'll draft or they'll trade their QB for somebody. Like they'll trade Taylor, I guess. Is that the question?
Well, either or. It's see, I think they need more of a pocket quarterback, in my opinion, right? So you could get splashy with Lamar Jackson or Mayfield, but I just think I think they got to change it to more of a pocket passing system. But we'll see.
They're part of the cousin sweepstakes. I don't know how much they're going to offer for him, but they're part of it. So,
yeah, I just think like if you're looking at the playoff teams, I think the Bills couldn't offer as much money as those other teams. So I feel like just for Cousins, I think the Bills would be somewhat low on the list. If it wasn't like I'm just thinking like if it wasn't about money, he wouldn't be high on the list. And then if it was about money, even. I don't think they would be paying as much. You know what I mean? They're kind of in the middle of the teams that would
in the
want him.
middle. Okay, so these are the 6 teams I've heard most often when it comes to Kirk Cousins, because we know Jacksonville is out of the race. A couple other teams are out. So you got Denver, Buffalo, Arizona, Minnesota. There's 2 other teams I'm not thinking off the top of my head. It's not
the Browns.
The Browns. That's
Jets.
that's 5, and the Jets. Okay, the Jets seem to be offering them the most money, but it's also a short-term deal. Like I heard Mitch say that there's going to be they were offering him a 1-year, $40 million contract, which is insane. I think that's a really ludicrous deal from both sides. A team like Buffalo will have some kind of interest. You know, John Elway is going to want to get him in very quickly. Arizona, I still have a little bit of questions about with the new direction that they're going, especially because I don't think they're the best. I think they're the 3rd best, or they might even be the worst team in the NFC West, honestly. Cleveland, I don't even know what to say about them. So I don't know what the safest bet is for Kirk. Let's talk about this. I think you brought this up. Is Minnesota the best way to go? Do you think Minnesota? Do you think they'll pull the trigger?
Yeah, and I think he'd probably if this is when we'll get to see what Kirk Cousins is about. Is he about the money? Because when this is these players, like, unless you're lucky and you can still be playing very well after your first big contract, you only get one big contract, in my opinion, on average, if you're even a good player, because who knows if you can continue and then get another good contract later on.
If you're getting a big contract, it's worth like 6 or 7 years, and that's a big part of your prime in terms of everything, because you get a rookie contract. And then
we'll see what he's about, because I'm not sure the finances of Minnesota, but I would think Minnesota would be more of a short-term deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It would be a more short-term deal. It's like, listen, we got all the pieces you need. We have 2 awesome receivers. We have an awesome tight end. We have a good young running back that barely played, who was pretty much a first-round pick running back type thing, in Dalvin Cook. We have an unbelievable defense. It's like, how can you not go to him? That's why I'm thinking go to the Vikings, because it would be an unbelievable spot for him to go. And they like I said that in the group chat, they'd be on par with the Eagles. I think it would be no question. I think they could be considered better on paper than the Eagles. And that's tough to say, but I do think if they get Kirk Cousins, because I wasn't a fan of Keenum, because I'm just not sold on him, and he still makes radical passes. And same with Cousins did too, but Cousins, I want to see what Cousins is about. And I think going to the Vikings for him is a way to be like, you don't have to go through the bumps and bruises of like going to these other teams. Because if you go to Denver, who knows? That defense is getting older. Their receivers are getting older. They don't have a running back, right? You go to the Cardinals are more of a team that their offense would interest him more than the Broncos, because you still, maybe that brings Fitz back for another year. You get David Johnson back healthy. It's interesting.
Old. I mean, I love Fitz,
but it still makes it interesting playing with David Johnson on its own, because we know David Johnson can catch passes too, right? And look what Kirk Cousins did with Thompson, a receiving back too. And obviously Johnson can do it all, but like, look at Thompson's year this year, catching out of the backfield. So I do think the Cardinals' offense is better.
So you're putting them number 2 on this list, or this metaphorical list.
Well, no, I go Vikings number 1, and I'd say Jets, just because if they're paying you that much, take the money. If they're going to pay you in your long term and you can make $40 million, I know we disagree on this point, but my thing is, at the end of the day, when you're signing a contract and you haven't won a Super Bowl, and I know everyone wants to win a Super Bowl, but the guys that haven't won a Super Bowl, I feel like their thinking is more, well, it's so tough to win a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? If I go to any of these teams besides the Vikings, that's why I'm thinking Vikings number 1. If I go to any of these other teams, there's no guarantee I make the Super Bowl anyways. That's why if the Jets are paying me the most money, even though the Broncos have a better defense, the Cardinals have maybe some better pieces, like I'm taking the money. I'm taking $40 million more. You know what I mean?
The Giancarlo Stanton deal in baseball, where he signed for $325 million with a team that was going nowhere. They were never going to win a championship in Miami the way they were going. And then Jeter did everything with the Yankees. But I I just question this from a Jets perspective, like a Jets organization. Like, do you really think he's going to win you this championship in 1 year? And if he doesn't and doesn't re-sign with you, it's a waste of $40 million. I don't understand what the team is thinking of the situation, because I was saying if Kirk Cousins goes there, they're going to probably be a playoff team. But they're not going to be – I don't think they're great contenders for the AFC. And this isn't even coming from Kirk. This is coming from a Jets organization. Why would they want to spend $40 million on a guy they don't know they're going to win a championship with? Because they have a lot of pieces they got to figure out first.
Yeah. I don't know. And it's tough because I know he's made a lot of money, and Ricky makes a good point where he's made $45 million the last 2 years. Yes, but I do believe, like, at the end of the day, like, you could set yourself up even more so, because a lot of these guys, and I don't think Cousins is one of them, but it's like, it's easy to blow your money. And, let's just say this. If he has to go to Minnesota and make a lot of money, but isn't paid the biggest contract of all time, like it's saying he's going to, because Garoppolo just has that contract, there's got to be a part of you where Cousins is like, I'm not going anywhere unless I'm going to be the highest contract of all time. Which
is probably where he's thinking right now, because Matthew Stafford got it last year. You saw Garoppolo got it.
And he's probably thinking too, like, I've paid my dues. I've put up good numbers with not the greatest talent, where I did have good talent, but like last year, my problem with the Redskins was they never should have got rid of Garcon and Jackson, and Reed was hurt a lot. But I did think that was their problem last year, was Pryor wasn't the guy, and Crowder, Crowder's a good slot guy with two good wide receivers that do different things, right?
Right.
So that hurt him. But like, that's what I'm saying. He won't be about the money for the Vikings, but if the Vikings can't put something together, he'll go to the biggest contract rather than picking and choosing between the Broncos, Jets, Browns, Cardinals. That's my.
I see where you're coming from, and I understand it to a degree. I just feel like, okay, I'm not gonna teach Kirk Cousins anything in statistics or financial here, but let's say they offer him a 4-year, $100 million contract. That's a very rough estimate, right? Mm-hmm. You got the $45 million for the 2 years that he's been in Washington, and his $100 million, which would probably be, I don't know how much guaranteed that would be. But you're setting yourself up pretty well. And if you do well enough with this Vikings organization and the team continues to have the success that it had this season, I think you're going to be making more money on top of that. I don't know. It just depends. Like, if there wasn't a Minnesota team, I would understand more of the money aspect. But I think with the option of that being there, I kind of questioned it a little bit. I know you're going to he knows he's going to get paid. It's just we'll see how much greed he has in his bank account, I guess.
Let me quickly look at. Yeah, they have enough cap space.
They do?
Because they have enough cap space per year. I just want to know who they have to resign.
Actually, yeah, I can find out the cap space number 2. I want to see that.
That's the thing. If they have to resign, it's just maybe the Vikings are thinking that they are just one piece away. Okay, so you're going to just say if you have that Vikings team and you have just enough money to sign Cousins to a big deal, do you do that? Or are the Vikings saying, do we stay the course and pick up 2 or 3 or 4 guys to fit in places where we think we're weak to build the team that way? Because I think that might be the talk for the Vikings. Do we want to just leave our team and maybe lose a couple pieces but bring in a quarterback? Or do we not pay the big money for the quarterback, keep Keenum in there for 1 more year or whoever it is, and pick up some other pieces? Because I don't even know how many other pieces they need. I think that's for the draft then. I think they need a corner. I think they need a nickel corner.
Well, Terrence Newman is like 39 years old,
and he's
got to have somebody to go. But to your point on the cap space, the Vikings have the 3rd most cap space in the NFC. They've got $57 million of cap space. So they've got a little bit to edge themselves up a little bit. The only 2 teams that have more are the 49ers with a ridiculous $114.9 million and the Bucks. So
I just got to see now. Well, who are the guys? Because they have all these good players. Now we have to
who's
think,
who's the contracts that are coming
like,
up?
what are the contracts coming up? Because then that would be a big indicator of why they have so much cap room. Because they're
and
waiting.
Also, if you're going to get rid of all
guys.
3 quarterbacks, that'll help something out there because there are questions about each 3 quarterbacks.
Well, that's the thing to tag. If they did want to tag Keenum, like they were talking about, it would cost them a lot.
Really?
So they'll have to re-sign after this year. They'll have to re-sign. Where is it? I'll find here. Multi-year summary here.
I'm interested to see this list. I want to see how many people they would have to think about in the future. I don't know. I'm also looking at some other cap spaces that are interesting. Steelers only have $2.9 million in cap right now, which they'll have to free that up.
Well, no, and the Eagles, but they're adding $25 million to the cap space, right?
Oh yeah, you guys are at negative right now. Shit.
Yeah, no, that's why they add 25 mil to the cap.
Yeah, I know. I just saw that. I'm like, ooh, that's not very good.
Hey, you got to spend money to win the Super Bowl, you know?
Well, I know. You guys were in the top tier, top half of the money space.
Because they're probably not good. Just this year, Jerick McKinnon, they probably will let walk. So that's just this year. This year, there's not a lot of guys that were their key guys. Maybe Joe Berger, who's one of the guards.
Like after the 2018 season?
I'm saying after this season right now, who they have to resign.
Okay.
All 3 of their quarterbacks are free agents.
Yeah.
Technically.
Mm-hmm.
So like go to 2019 because 2019 will be interesting because I bet you I'm going to see a lot of big names.
Yeah. In terms of cash spending, the Lions spent the most money this year, and they didn't even make the playoffs. So I don't understand how that works. But
it's not that okay. So this is pretty nuts.
What we got
the year after they have to pay Anthony Barr, who's only making $3 million this year.
Because this is rookie contract, right?
Rookie contract. So they're gonna have. He's only 25. He's gonna be a big number. You look at Sharif Floyd, who's only getting paid $2 million. Who's a big.
They might let him walk.
Yeah, Eric Kendricks, inside linebacker, who's only making 1.2, and Stephon Diggs too, who's gonna probably be a $10 million guy. He's only making just over $500,000.
Jesus,
just nuts, right? So that's how you have so much cap room because you're good at drafting, which is commendable.
Yeah.
So maybe you do a short-term deal to see what happens.
Those are some pretty good ones. I think Sharif Floyd would probably walk if this thing would go, but the rest they're going to have to sign.
Yeah. Pretty much your star receiver and your 2 key linebackers you have to bring back, right? Oh, and Daniel Hunter.
Oh, that's an underrated one.
Exactly. Who's getting paid just under $1 million too.
So they're really good at the draft. We need to figure out this problem.
Well, and that's why, but maybe they're smart, and that's why they have so much cap room. So they're figuring that out, right?
Yeah,
so.
they probably have some kind of plan, but maybe they were just like, hey, think about this also. Like, there's a golden opportunity. I think it's tough, but I'm very interested. We'll see. Let's get to some comments on this one. I know a lot of people will be talking about this one. Ferocious says Kirk to sign with the Broncos. He came in after we started talking about this, but likelihood of that I think is kind of small. I think he'll probably be the 3rd or 4th choice for Kirk, just my opinion. He also says he thinks the Jags should draft Lamar Jackson. I think that I would disagree with that. I don't think that's the best fit for him. I think for a guy like Lamar, he needs to find the right system. He needs to find a system that can work with his style of offense because obviously he's been compared to Michael Vick. But the arm is a question. So I don't think the Jags are the best fit for him personally. Let's see. Big Bad Boy says he sees Rudolph going to the Pats as Brady's replacement. I think that's the same thing they did with Ryan Mallett. That's the same thing they did with well, not Garoppolo specifically, but I mean they've had backup quarterbacks before. I don't know if he would fit the template for that. I don't know if I'd be a fan of that.
Yeah, we'll see. And we'll have tons of talk about and Brady was as best as he's ever been, but just the thing with the Patriots, to me, still, and I'm not saying this is not against Brady. He only really has 1 to 2 years left. Realistically, he's not realistically. So you really do have to start thinking that in order, and obviously they brought Josh McDaniels. Yeah, you do have to realistically think of bringing that quarterback into work with Josh McDaniels, who probably is going to be the next head coach and who's the offensive coordinator. You want to bring that guy in as early as possible.
My problem is that, like, I think this is going to be a Favre situation. Like, they brought Rodgers in and they drafted him, first round? So, like, I think they're going to have to draft somebody in the first round. They can't do this.
But I don't think they need to do it this year because I don't think any of these guys
No, not this year. I think this is the next year situation. But
if you think that those two guys, either a Falk or a Rudolph, are the way to go, then you have to get them in that. And obviously for them, it would be the late second round if they're still there.
I don't know. I feel like that. I do like Rudolph. I think he's my favorite, like, underrated talent of this draft for the QB selection. But I think in terms of the Patriots, they're going to have to look for first round. I don't know the talent next year. I haven't looked farther into that, but it's a question because we've seen the Patriots' history of having that, and we'll see. Ferocious says, I'm eager to see where Rosen goes. I'll talk about that. That's an interesting one because I heard talks of Cleveland, heard talks of the Giants specifically probably being the biggest option.
But what I'm hearing, though, from the Giants, though, they're like Eli's going to be the quarterback there for at least the next year, maybe two.
Oh, yeah. He'll start next season.
Yeah.
That's their goal. I think they want to do they just want to build him up as their QB. Because I don't know.
But even and it's just funny how when they did bench him, they put Geno in and not Davis Webb because Davis Webb's no slouch. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they already have the quarterback of the future in him, but maybe him not playing or Geno playing ahead of him, that would be maybe he's not that good. But I did like Davis Webb last year coming into the draft.
I'm going to be perfectly honest. I just don't know much about him. I did find it weird, though, that they were going with Geno Smith because we've seen the production of Geno Smith.
Go with the young guy.
The thing was that whole season was just a train wreck. And I think they were just like, you know what? We're just going to call this season a bust. Like, there was nothing to be happy about. Let's see. Rick Bad Boy says depth on the D-line would help the Vikings. That's true. I think there are some good pieces, but could get a couple of things. M Cam agrees with me. They're not going to re-sign Sharif Floyd. Let's see. Okay, that's it for comments there. All right, do we have anything else? Okay. We'll bring up one more topic because you brought it up. Jerry Jones. It looks like he's getting fined $2 million. It looks like from the NFL itself.
It's actually not a fine.
It's not a fine. What is it exactly?
So the owners have talked together because of the problems he caused of lawyer fees from the other owners having to pay their lawyers. He's having to pay for that. So it's not a fine. It's actually been a mandate. Apparently, it's been a mandate for the last 20 years. If an owner railroads something that makes other owners have to hire lawyers or whatnot.
What were they having to hire them for? I'm curious.
Or that I think for him, like trying to bring them in to get Goodell out or something like that, or bring in.
Were they talking about his contract and
for sure? So I think there was something that legally it's actually in the owners that Goodell went to the owners first to figure out what the money was, and then the owners like, okay, let's ding him for this, and then which now that I think about it, it maybe makes Jerry look a bit bad, but at the end of the day, it's not against the cap. It's not a penalty against the team.
It's specifically against him.
Yeah, it's just him where it's just like, whatever. I bet you he has more than $2 million lying around. So.
He makes so much money off of everything that goes around there. They didn't even want to put a freaking train station in Arlington because they're going to lose parking money. You see? Yeah. That's how greedy Jerry Jones is. But he'll make so much money. So I will be the first person to say that I don't like Jerry Jones and the way he runs the organization. But to me, as long as it doesn't affect the Cowboys' money space, I would say indifferent for.
No, and they didn't even spend a lot of money this year.
In terms of teams, we were the least spending team in the NFL.
Yeah.
Which is shocking.
It showed.
Well, for a team that was the third most world in terms of money. We didn't spend any money, so
For sure.
it was kind of odd. But we do have a little bit of cap space, so that's that'll help.
Yeah, hopefully you should go after Truman.
Yeah, I think. Well, first of all, first goal is to I think we're going to franchise tag Lawrence. I think that's the thing. I would want him to get a 4-year contract, but I don't think it's going to be realistic this year. So franchise tag him, just make sure nobody else gets him, and then pick up one splash. I think would be good. Personally, we'll see how that goes. I know Earl Thomas obviously has his interest, but that ain't going to happen this year.
Yeah, that's it. And you're looking at trades, which are tough.
Yeah, it's tricky. There's a couple pieces, but I'm optimistic about the future if done right. I wish the Clapper wasn't there still, but good pieces around him. Oh yeah, and of course MCAM Dez is overrated. Well, so you talked about this in the chat a couple weeks ago. What's the situation with Dez? What do you do with Dez here?
You can't really. No one would want that contract. Plus, he still has bonus money. So I learned this all from Madden, right? So if you sign a guy to a signing bonus, and so like let's say Bortles, how I mentioned with Bortles, his contract was 3 years, $54 million with 28 guaranteed. So after that $28 million is given to him within the first 2 years of his contract, now you can cut him without having to reimburse him or him counting against the cap. Like if Bortles played crappy this year and they cut him, the next year they'd still be ding $13 million against their cap because that's what they had. That's what his bonus.
It's like the Osweiler situation in that contract, right? They would give it up to.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
So that's the thing with Dez is he can't really get traded, so they have to actually keep him. But if they just let him play one more year with his money, they can cut him, and they don't have to pay him, and he won't count against the cap next year. But this year, you can't really trade him.
Okay.
And he said he was injured too. So I've always been a Dez fan. So
the way he's playing injured about next season has me optimistic. It's just I've seen the production the last 2 years, and I'm questioning. I'm not questioning just Dez. I'm questioning the Dak Dez connection.
Well, and the play calling.
I think one word to describe the offensive last year was a clusterfuck because it was just all over the place and janky. I like our offensive coordinator, but I think we were very uncreative towards the end of the stretch where we could have won some football games. But you never know. I want to see what Dez. If Dez can back it up this season, I'm all for it. Because I want to, if anything, I want to see my team win. So I want to see a guy prove me wrong. But, let's see the production. I want to see the production. AC, is there anything else you want to bring up?
No, I guess just, where was it here? Ferocious wants us to hear thoughts on Reuben Foster. He's an idiot. It's brutal because in a way, it tarnishes how great people were saying that 49ers draft was last year.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, it does. Obviously, you get Solomon Thomas, and I don't think Solomon Thomas was good at times. Can he be better? Yeah, but I thought Derek Burnett was better than Solomon Thomas last year.
That's true.
And not playing every down. And then Reuben Foster, he's, you get him. You get such good value from him. And didn't he fall down in that draft? So it's obviously to see why. Because I thought
he went down to the 31st pick in the draft.
Well, because wasn't there like the weed or drug something happened?
I think it was weed when that happened.
Yeah, like before. So then he fell. So it's like then everyone was talking last year, like, wow, they got.
And then he also did something at the combine. I think he did. I think like he threw some kind of fit. I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That too. So, and then now domestic stuff. Who knows? It seemed pretty serious. We'll see. But expect them to be on the Cowboys next year then.
Hey, we got no Greg Hardy now. Now he's 3-0 in UFC or MMA, whatever.
But it's crazy because like San Francisco, now you're really getting put in a spot where the limelight's on you. How are you going to deal with a situation like that? You've been kind of in the bottom. You've been trying to rebuild. You get the new coach. You get the new GM. And now you're putting a situation where everyone wants to know how you're going to react with a very big issue going on, not just in football, but in the whole world. How are you going to react? And it's almost at the point now where if it comes to light that it's serious, you have to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Which stinks because not stings because obviously it's justified, but there's gonna wait a year and then there's another team that's gonna pick up this guy and he's gonna be good, and now you're being like, what, you know what I mean? But
like, what were we supposed to do?
Everything you have to get rid of him if it's serious, right?
Yeah, it
we'll
just
see.
sucks because he has so much talent. Like,
no, he's so good. He's unbelievable.
It's like the Justin Blackmon situation. I'm like, this guy has the potential to be really, really good at what he does, and then we're here in the NFL. He's got a great coach in Kyle Shanahan, like you brought up, and then like this team's getting back to promise. Like, I don't understand, like, why.
Yeah, but it's just it's too bad because, like I said, you're going in the direction where everyone was kind of falling in love with the San Francisco 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Everyone's liking what they're doing, bringing in Jimmy G, bringing in Kyle Shanahan, the great draft they had last year, and now everyone's going to be, everyone's not really talking about it right now because the details, but if it comes to light that it's actually a very serious situation, you're losing your starting inside linebacker, and he's gone, and justly should be, but it obviously it stings because what you've done with what, and then you drafted him thinking he wouldn't be an off the field issue. It's just it kind of probably stings people in that organization.
Well, and then Bowman goes to the Raiders, and it's like, well, now you lost that piece that was there for you for a while. So, it's sad. I just don't want to see guys that have this amount of talent do the thing, but also, like you said, it's justified. If it does come out that he did
for sure
like that, it's obviously justified. So, on that sour note, we're gonna head out.
And I'll let everyone know. I guess this is just I bought my Eagles gear for all you guys that have not got to be a part of a Super Bowl, besides Pats fans because they win all the time. But for the most part, most teams just win one. Like, Aaron Rodgers just won one so far. You know what I mean? Flacco, it's I've been watching Super Bowl since I was a kid, and every time that commercial comes on, they're the Super Bowl champs. So I made a big purchase in getting all the Super Bowl gear, which is you got to, right? You got to. So that's coming. So next time I'll be wearing the Super Bowl gear until next year.
Get it ready for next year. I got some stuff from when the Mavericks won the NBA Finals.
Yeah, you have to. You have to, right? Like I said, it was big because all my teams I cheer for have never won. Like my hockey team, Canucks, have never won. Seattle Mariners have never won. Portland Trailblazers have won one in '76, whatever, but haven't won. So I've literally never cheered for a championship in my 28 years of living on every sport. So that's why got to get the gear.
Nice.
Where is it? Wait, where's this one too? Got this. Philly Special.
Yeah, the greatest sport. I love the Sports Illustrated.
Philly
Special. Gonna collect those.
Yeah.
I think I had mine. Mavericks stuff. Whatever. It's too far away. I kept those Mavericks ones when I had my Sports Illustrated cover. You buy that solo? Like you just bought that one?
Yeah, I just bought that one.
Those are always nice covers. I like Sports Illustrated. I canceled it like 3 years ago, but
I got a hoodie just with Foles. Like he's probably going to be on the team for one more year, but just
hey, he won the Super
Bowl MVP. It's like I don't even care if he never plays another down for the Eagles. He's a legend.
But he was like with Hostetler, man. Like I don't care. I don't care that he's not going to play again. He won us the Super Bowl.
He's a legend forever. He's a legend, and he's a Super Bowl MVP. It's just nuts that Nick Foles is a Super Bowl MVP.
yeah. Like coming into the season, we're like, who's going to be Super Bowl?
Nick Foles, man. He wasn't even on the team at the beginning. I think like they signed him in training camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, they signed him in training camp because he was like not playing for a year or whatever. Yeah,
because he was with the Chiefs, and then he was gone for a little bit. Yeah, that's. And then we get the Philly Special, and then we got a craziness going on.
We did the perfect playbook. Just do trick plays and go for it on fourth down all the time. That's how you.
You know what was weird? I was watching highlights because that's what I usually do, and I saw in 2015 the Philadelphia Eagles were playing the Patriots. And that exact play where Amendola threw to Brady happened, and they scored a touchdown on it. Yeah. And now I'm like, wow, they couldn't. They tried to do it in the Super Bowl, and then the Eagles did it at the 4th and goal.
Well, that's what was crazy. Like Brady was. It was just a wild game. I still like every time I watch it, it's still nuts just to think because there was not one. I think that was the difference. That maybe I don't want to say the difference from Seattle fans. where like I feel like Seattle fans like thought they were gonna win. You know what I mean? I feel like even when the Eagles were up, whatever, I think most Eagles fans were like, "Yo, Patriots are coming back." You know what I mean? And then when the Patriots got that winning go-ahead touchdown, and now there's 7 minutes left, and then the Eagles somehow like a 6-minute drive, the whole field, and then the fumble. It was just crazy. I just haven't really talked about it since. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and then like the largest lead was 10, I think.
Yeah.
So like, you know, obviously after last year, 28-3, you know.
Yeah, like it was just it was wild way to get her done. So we'll see again. We might lose some pieces, and we don't have many draft picks actually. So
yeah, it's interesting.
We have only a first round pick and we don't have a second or a third.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And that obviously that first round's a 32nd pick, so that's interesting.
Yeah, but with the cap space, we should be able to bring everyone back because I've been hearing Blunt will pretty much sign for nothing to come back. And say what you want about Blunt, but he's still like, man, he won some of those playoff games just being a beast.
Yeah, he's always a good role player. Like he's a good piece to have on your team. Although I did see somebody post on their mock draft that Ronald Jones is coming to Philadelphia. So I
just don't know with Clement taking over, plus they're trying to maybe want to get Sproles back in for one more year. Like that's 4 backs. I don't know.
I think it's the durability maybe that they're questioning because so Blunt is great, but we don't know. I mean, he's not going to be there for that long. The question mark with the Jai was how messed up his knees were. That's a concern for later on down the line. Clement's a great running back, but I think he's more of the pass catching type. Like he's not like a strong running back type. And then Darren Sproles is on his last legs. So maybe I don't think that's their biggest concern, but I saw
No. Well, but if you think about it, we were second in the NFL with those guys in rushing.
Yeah.
Well, I think Ajayi is not really because if you think about it, people say he's injury prone, but he hasn't missed a lot of games. You know what I mean? Like
how old is he? Is he
he's only 25. Like he's literally only been in the league for 2-3 years.
This would be his 4th season, yeah.
Yeah, and then he's actually a free agent after this year. So it's interesting. And I think we're obviously losing Patrick Robinson, nickel, but if you think about it, we're gaining a first-round pick in Sidney Jones this year. So
you know what I mean? How he comes into
because he didn't play at all, and Rajul Douglas. So I think he could play the nickel, or he could move around. And then Jalen Mills just was solid, and
had a very impressive season, all things considered.
Yeah. So see, just the only one I want back, which I think we'll be able to get back for cheap, is Nigel Bradham because we lost our middle linebacker Hicks, and he had to step up and do all the play calling. So I think we'll try to get him back. But other than that, we're pretty solid.
Yeah. Eagles will be fun. But now I'm just looking forward to baseball season.
Yeah. Let's go Mariners.
Hey, I'm going to the second Rangers game this season, going to March 31st. So I'll be hyped for it. But
yeah, I'll probably get out of Seattle. But the problem with Seattle, man, we got even the Mariners, my teams, man. We haven't been made to the playoffs since 2001. We have the longest playoff drought in the history of. We have the current longest playoff drought in professional sports.
Yeah, now that the Bills got this year.
Yeah, in professional sports, man. 18 years.
I felt so bad because there's certain years I'm like, okay, the Mariners are gonna.
They're always 500 around into the last 25 games or something, and then they always finish they got
the pitching though. They've got the pitching this year to get something, but Angels are going to be incredibly difficult.
Yeah, everyone's
Astros are the World Series champions, so our division's very difficult. I don't know. But with that said, baseball talk here on the football channel. Hope you guys enjoyed that 2 minutes. Thank you guys for commenting about everything that we talked about today. We're going to be doing a couple more live streams. Obviously, we want to get you guys involved. I know we heard about it on the debate show in the comments. Why didn't we get something like this? So you guys will get this a little more often. It's just been a little slow, but we're picking it back up. Obviously, with free agency coming up, we'll have a lot of stuff in free agency. I promise. So like the video, of course, share it, subscribe to the channel. We're going to give out more content tomorrow. I'll have my quarterbacks list. Wednesday, hopefully Mitch will have something to do with the draft. I will be posting a video for that every week. I've got offensive players, quarterback, running back, offensive line, wide receiver, that kind of stuff. So stay tuned for that and more videos on the way. So for AC, it's Dylan. Peace.